I'm Tim Duty with Allen Engineering, Regional Sales Manager of the Southeast Territory. Today we're going to go over setting the truss screed up. We've already got it assembled and set on the forms. There's a few tricks though that you can do before you get to this point. If you have a flat surface on the job, usually you don't. So if you're in a rocky area or like the subgrade here, you can use 2-foot long 2x4s set on the ground. Support each section or each truss as you put them together and get them as flat as you can when that happens here at the joints, because you're going to pull them together with the top pop coupler and bring the blades together until you close the gap up on the front and back side evenly. So the trick is, if you got a slab that's already in place that is flat, that'll eliminate those 2x4s and you can put your sections together and save you a lot of time on getting it fine-tuned and adjusted. The other way, like Brad did this morning, we set it on the forms and he followed his form on the back. It's hard to see, but we got the form on the back side, so he walked through getting the screed relatively level and get it close, and then we'll fine-tune it with the string or the laser. And one thing you want to do, you go through, loosen up all your top jam nuts. You want to loosen off one side of your shaft coupler. That way, as you adjust the screed, the shaft will move in and out. If you do not do that, you could put the section in a bind and it could cause it to push to the front, push to the back, and it's going to cause you premature failure down the road. So when you get done getting everything set, we'll come back, tighten these up, and then we're going to wrap them with some black tape to help keep concrete out. And if someone does forget and leave a set screw loose, you will not lose that set screw. On the SE12, or the top pipe coupler, we're set up here with a split coupler, so it makes easy assembly. So you remove the 2 bolts when you're assembling this section, and when you slide your 2 pieces together, screw your coupler halves out till they touch, put your bolts in, and then bring the screed back together. So they got the string set here, and you'll want to run the string even with your front of the blade. You got a straight edge about 2 foot long, you can use it to set with the string, or we're going to fine tune this one with the laser. So we got the laser set up over here, and then we got the rod and receiver right here. On like this slab here, we're 50-foot wide, I believe. Is that right? So on the wider screeds, as you get, I would say 45 foot and over, you can set the screed a little high in the center. That way, as you load it with concrete, it'll pull down. So we're gonna go through as we pour today, and we're gonna be checking the screed to make sure we're on grade as we go through today while we're pouring. What we're gonna do is ideally keep the concrete level halfway on the screed blade. If you go over halfway, you're gonna end up going over the screed, then you're gonna be carrying concrete in front of your blade on the back side, which is the bull float blade. That's just could create a tear in the concrete or end up having a little a problem you'll have to fix with a hand tool. What we'll do before we pour also, we'll spray it down, because you don't want to spray it down with oil and then go to adjusting on it and getting the oil everywhere. So before we get ready to pour concrete, we'll spray it down with oil, because like on all the equipment, keeping it clean and serviced where it'll last a long time. As Roger and Brad goes through checking, they'll check at each joint where we were at with the top pipe coupler and where you join the sections together. And as you work down through here, they're checking where they need to set the screed at. So if you're a 1/2 inch off on one end and the other end is flat where you need it to be, you got to adjust that out. If you try to adjust the whole 1/2 inch out at one time, you're just going to keep chasing yourself at each joint. And as they go through this process, it's just figuring out, like if this joint here is flat, you've got to work out the 2 to get the screed level. The Allen SE12 Truss Screed is what we're using today. On this machine, since it's so wide with the hydraulic winches, we're running a 11 horse Honda engine. We have a 9 horse option or 11 horse option. 11 horse, when you get to the longer lengths, you need that little more horsepower. So this one, we have the 11 horse, we have the hydraulic winch option, we have a manual winch option, and the difference between the two is the manual winch, you've got a guy tied to that end all day on each end running the winches. With the hydraulic winches, once you get the winches set, that operator, he's got to stay close by, but he can do other things, knock some mud down along the form line, but he don't have to stay tied down with the hydraulic winches. So they'll pay for themselves in the long run pretty quick. Once we get started up and running, you have a eccentric shaft running down through the center of the truss. That's where we're going to get our vibration. So that shaft is turning forward. So what that does with the eccentrics, they're all turned up on one side. So as we're going along, it's throwing that vibration down into the concrete where you're getting good consistent vibration across the truss screed and along the form line. Like if you're hand rodding and other types of screeds that's out there, with a truss screed, when you pull the forms, you're not gonna have that honeycomb, you're gonna have a good consistent edge along your form from the vibration. Because with the SE12, you can vibrate up to 10 inches deep on your concrete thickness. The guys, they run the winch cable out. And if you have stakes on the forms, you can hook your hook that's on the end of the cable onto the form, or like we did here, we have 2 nail stakes that we drove. It's good to use 2 nail stakes where you go around the cable, go around a nail stake, and then attach the hook to another stake, 2 foot, 4 foot away. That way, if something happens, screed gets in a bind where your cable's not gonna go directly back towards the operator. And having that extra nail stake in there will keep that from happening. It will sling out instead of back towards the operator. SSE12 service, maintenance, like I said earlier, keeping the screed clean. So we're gonna oil it today. You always wanna oil it before you use it. If you get it set the night before, and it's good to oil it the night before, and then the next morning you can check it where you don't have a lot of adjustment. But you always want to check it before you pour, even if you set it up the day before. So keeping it clean, you have the top pipe, you have the rods, so that's going to keep the life of the screed. Down on the shaft, you have 3/4 pillow block bearings. So these take a shot about every 20 hours of operation, or I'll tell everyone, if you pressure wash it, it's good to hit it with a shot of grease. On these, they're sealed bearings, so when you grease them, you do not want to over grease them. You don't want to use a electric or air grease gun, because that you can blow the seals out on the bearing, and once the seals are out on the bearing, that's going to allow contaminants to get in, and it will cause premature failure on the bearing. Once again, I'm Tim Duty with Allen Engineering. I'm the Southeast Regional Sales Rep. Cell phone 870-565-5939. If you have any questions, give me a call. Any way I can help you out.